I've had some anxiety this morning. That's something that has been pretty consistent over the years. I'll wake up with, I mean, it's not every single day, but it's fairly frequent. I wake up with, uh, yeah, my mind's buzzing around. I have a sort of knot of sensation in my gut. Um, and yeah, I have a lot of negative. I mean, it's interesting. I'm in recovery. I'm in 12-step recovery. So I've been sober for 17 years now. Um, and they call it's talked about in recovery meetings. They call it the shitty committee, which is the sort of, uh,
So, say
like,
again, what do they call it?
they call it the shitty committee,
Shitty. Yeah,
which is
that's a
like
good one.
it's the sort of, the voices, the catastrophizing, yeah, and it's like a feeling of, it's almost like rage or kind of like subtle rage or like a desire to just kind of, when it's more intense. It's just this feeling you want to kind of smash the place up or something, you know.
Mm.
There's this sort of like somehow this like repressed anger or something.
Yeah. So is do you can you not make sense of it? It's not sensible, is it?
It doesn't, no, I can't make sense of it. I mean, obviously the mind sort of blames
Yeah, whatever it can grab
whatever.
a hold of, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Mm.
there's a work situation going on and I'm like, my mind's kind of chewing over that, and making that what it's about.
Yeah, yeah. So you see that. That's an interesting one that you see that the mind will take whatever's convenient to focus on as a way of expressing something that we don't know what it is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I do see that. Yeah.
That's pretty big to be able to see that because frequently people would simply be lost in whatever it is that the mind is pointing them to, and they would believe that that's what it's all about when in fact it's not. That's just an excuse, eh?
Yeah. And it's a sort of like, I don't know if it's a battle or there seems to be a sort of, I'm like, oh, okay, it's not really about that. So I
Mm.
try and, let's say, allow the sensation or just kind of, make
Yeah,
space.
yeah. So
But
yeah,
then the
so
mind goes
techniques.
back.
Yeah,
The mind jumps back and goes, yeah, but you need to sort that thing out. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, because that's a mind thing as well. It wants certainty, so it wants something to focus on. Right? It
Mm,
can't abide not knowing. Yeah.
mm.
Did it ever occur to you that the original addiction was about something? It wasn't just the alcohol. The alcohol,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think that most people in recovery,
realize that. Yeah,
yeah, realize that the alcohol was a kind of solution to something rather than
yeah, yeah,
the actual problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you get beyond the alcohol addiction,
Mm.
and I mean it's 17 minutes or 17 years doesn't really make a lot of difference in a way.
No.
Do you get that you're then facing what you use the alcohol to escape?
Yeah.
I'll bet you that's what your rage is all about. What that
Mm.
original thing was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a story here that kind of makes sense with the as a result of working with lots of people over time, and that is that rage is an expression, right? But it's an expression of anger, and
Mm.
anger is an expression of something underneath it, right?
Mm.
Something, a way of, it's much easier to cope with anger than it is to cope with shame.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to cope with shame than it is to cope with guilt.
Mm.
And so when we get back to where would guilt come from? Well, guilt comes from when you're a kid doing what all kids do, and that is blaming themselves for the shitty circumstances that they find themselves in. So parents fighting, for example, kids will say it's my fault when it's got
Mm.
nothing to do with them, but they believe it. You know,
Yeah.
that's the way things go. So that guilt, once they own it, once they believe it's them, fuck, it's hard to cope with, you know. So they start to feel shame because it puts them in a victim status that's a lot easier to cope with than feeling guilty about something where you should be able to do something about it. And of course, as a kid, you can't. You know,
Mm.
you don't have the tools. You got no idea. You don't even know what's really going on. You just feel like you're at fault.
Yeah.
So shame follows that, and then of course we can't live with shame. You know, so we get angry,
Mm.
and that's we can live with being angry.
Right. Yeah.
And of course, when we do express that anger, when it comes up, you know, we look for reasons for it. Oh, it's them, it's that. You
Mm.
know, something goes on. Yeah. So it's again, it gets easier, and we avoid it a lot of the time by getting busy. Whether we get busy physically doing stuff, or whether we get busy mentally with fantasies, with planning, with work, with whatever we can keep ourselves occupied with. That's a way of avoiding that uncomfortable thing that's underneath there. Now, this is just a story. I don't know how accurate it is for you, but it's just something that I've come to see many, many times over and over again. And it's too glib. It's not, you know, it's much more sophisticated and much more complex than what I've just outlined for you, but it gives you an idea that there's something going on there. Now, the next thing is we don't have to know what that something is. We just have to know that it's something. You know, so the
Mm.
old idea of therapy is we've got to dig out all of these shadows that are hiding around in there, and we've got to deal with each one of them until there's none left. Well, guess what? There's never none left. Wherever we look,
Mm.
we find. It's just, it's just, it's an unending thing. You know, I've seen people that have been in therapy for 20 years and they're still finding stuff. You
Yeah.
think, God, how much stuff can there be, you know? But that's it. You keep looking, you keep finding. Well, you don't need to because it's not about the thing itself. It's about your relationship to it. It's about you owning it.
Mm.
Once you recognize that and that it's something, you kind of grow up. You realize that, hang on, you don't need to carry around this shit that you learned as a kid. But it's not as simple as that either. You know, that's again another simplification of it all. Yeah. So what do we do at a practical level? Well, you know, we develop tools, and the tools that are most useful is listen to the body. It's
Mm.
amazing. The body doesn't lie, although it can present what it believes as the truth, even though that's a lie, but it'll be honest about what it presents. And the body is the way into recognizing that there is something there that we've been avoiding, that we don't want to know about, that we'd rather wasn't there. And if we get into the body, that's a great way into what's actually going on. So the next thing to realize is how do we get into the body? Well, it seems like obvious things, but it's not obvious. You know, you go, well, I've got feelings. Well, then if you look at that, what are feelings? Feelings are sensations with stories attached to them that give them meaning. So if you know, think of any feeling you like, and it's the story component of it that you're going to use to make a label about it. It's fear, it's anger, it's sadness, it's whatever you want to come up with. It's the story
Anxiety.
about it. Yeah.
Mm.
So there's that old one that says if you stand at the foot of the Big Dipper at the theme park, you know, are you feeling excitement or are you feeling fear? Same sensation, different story. You
Mm.
see, so you don't kind of know. So it's those stories that turn it into something, that give it meaning, and then we respond to the story. When in fact, if you just can get into what is the body telling you, it starts to kind of decipher. It falls apart. The story falls off it when you look at what's that sensation? Where am I feeling that sensation? What does it feel like? And a great technique is if you can put a label on it, you're not in deep enough. You've got to get into it to the level where what I use as an analogy is if you try to describe to me what chocolate tastes like, and I've never had chocolate, you've got no hope, have you?
Mm.
Well, it's at that level of knowing what chocolate tastes like that you need to get into the sensations that are in the body. If you can get into the sensations to beyond the point where you can describe them accurately, then you're getting close. At that point, that's when the stories will fall off them. Whenever you've got a label, you're keeping a story stuck to them. So you've got to get beyond anything that you could describe accurately.
Mm.
And that's a portal. That's a doorway into what's actually going on for you. And it takes practice to get good at that too. It's amazing how many people can't really get in touch with their body cleanly. Quite common in our society that what we think of as the body is still at a thought level.
Yeah, I noticed when I'm trying to, just experience sensation, there's a kind of overlay, a subtle overlay of like a picture of that part of the body. Because I'm quite a visual person, it's really difficult for me to stabilize that sensation without this thing to kind of hold it
Mm,
in place
mm.
almost. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah. So what comes to mind here is that we don't want to stop that. We want to use it. And if you
mm,
if you have it doesn't matter how accurate the picture is. If you have a picture that represents something, you make a big deal of the word represent, right? And so that picture is uh, a telescope that you use that tells you what direction to look in and where the
mm,
magnification needs to be. Right? And you might find subtler pictures underneath that until you can get beyond. You don't have to get beyond, but you might find that you kind of fall through the picture into an actual experience.
mm,
That sounds a bit woo-wooish, but it's something you've got to play with to discover. Yeah. So I mean that visual thing is pretty handy to have. And you recognise immediately, I imagine, you recognise that it's a representation. It's not the actual thing. It's
yeah.
it's just a way of you focusing on something. So are you an artist as well?
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a filmmaker, but I started in, drawing and painting and photography. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, I remember you telling me a bit about that now. Yeah. Yeah. This memory's pretty flaky. Yeah.
it's not bad, really. Because, yeah,
Yeah, so that you could use that skill. You could make a movie internally about
mm,
what's going on, and that so that concept of shadow work, right? It kind of might have some uh, bearing for you on the lighting involved. That things are not going to stand out really clear and
mm,
sharp, right? But what we do is we have impressions of things, and of course you realize when you make movies that things like the music plays a huge part in setting the mood, the tone. The music will tell you, camera angles will tell you things. You know,
Mm.
yeah, it's amazing how these days my wife and I, when we're watching something on Netflix, and we go, the camera just told me that something's going to happen. You know,
Mhm.
because it just hovered for a millisecond longer on something or other, you know, and you know that that's significant as a result of that. Yeah. So you can develop use those skills to get into those sensations, looking for something that doesn't need to be defined, but shows itself to be significant. It is there doing something. And what you start to realize is that it's not actually appropriate for you as an adult to still have those beliefs. Those beliefs just got hardwired in when you were really, really young,
Mm.
when you had no defenses, when your perception was really narrow, and you weren't able to put it into a big wide context.
Mm.
Uh, Weird stuff.
And
But,
my father, he wrote the family an email a couple of weeks ago, and it was just about he'd seen a TV program, and it was about how boys suffer when their fathers don't communicate their love to them or whatever. And he talked about his father basically always telling him he was no good. And he wrote in the email that he wanted to communicate to us that he really loved us and that um, he was really grateful for having us in his life. And it was so, I felt so emotional
yeah,
to
good
sort of
stuff. Yeah,
be kind of, I was sobbing because it was like, obviously I hadn't felt that that was necessarily true or something.
yes, yep.
And I mean, without going into the whole sort of psychotherapy side of it, obviously this is all in the background of
Yeah, but it's a big
all
one.
of
It's
this.
absolutely huge. Yeah. And when you started to tell me that, well, I had a deja vu feeling. Like I wondered whether or not you'd told me that one before. But it was so, yeah, yeah, right. Um, Brilliant and amazing, you know, but without doubt in my mind, and I'm jumping into my fantasy here, that
Mm,
as a kid, you didn't realize what he just told you in the email.
no, no,
Yeah.
not at all. Yeah.
Yeah. See, back in the day too, you know, I mean, you know, you and I are old buggers, so we can go back
Hmm.
quite a few years. And back in the day, men were men and they didn't express emotions, you know,
Yeah.
so he couldn't tell you that he loved you. Oh, he knows I love him. It'd be about as much as you'd get out of him.
Mm,
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Wow. So that email, that would have shifted stuff for you. That would have changed a whole
yeah.
lot of stuff in you. Yeah.
It definitely something shifted. I was quite shocked by just reading it and like the emotions that came out, you know.
Yeah.
Because I kind
Yeah.
of knew he's sort of, because he's older now, you know, and he's sort of not so
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
you know, he's sort of has been more reflective now, you know.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Uh, but
And
I
we
kind of,
we yeah, go on.
well, some of that stuff I kind of knew intellectually, I guess, but hearing him say it was a
Different
different
when he
thing.
expresses it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you know, the mind can do all sorts of weird things with that. It can say, well, if you'd have told me that 20 years ago, 50 years ago, it would have been a different life for me, you know, and so on and so on. Yeah. Ah, well, that's brilliant. That's really good stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Did you feel a softening?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I felt a kind of opening and a softening. Um, you know, and it, I relate to what you said about I mean, I've always been very, let's say, workaholic as well.
Hmm.
So I was very driven, although I was kind of an art, I wanted to be an artist and I ended up being a filmmaker, but there was always this very, very strong drive.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
that's been something I've been sort of uh, trying to sort of manage, especially since when I got into recovery, I kind of quit everything,
Mm.
including kind of work. I dropped back from doing a very intensive work as well.
Yeah, that
And
would have made it even more difficult, though, because you're a bit more faced with things then.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And and I've entered into, recently I've done a project and seeing how I relate to it and how far I get sucked in and, back
Yeah.
into that sort of, you know, but yeah, I mean, I think that compensation for, I mean, the guilt thing really chimes for me.
Mm.
And the sort of idea that trying to prove worth by achievement or something.
Well, that, no doubt that's certainly part of it. Yeah. Yeah. We kind of want to undo things that are there, but it doesn't work really because
No.
there's nothing to undo. Really. Do you recognize that when you got loaded up with guilt, that was from a very naive perspective, that happened because you weren't aware of all of the circumstances surrounding whatever the conditions were that heaped that stuff on you.
Um, do I recognize that that was a naive place?
Yes, yeah,
I, yeah, I mean, I kind of know it sort of
yeah,
intellectually, I guess. Yeah, but it's not, I don't know if I feel it.
yeah. Okay. So what comes to mind is a psychodrama would
Mm.
put you in a artificial, a fantasy situation where you expressed how you felt about a vaguely familiar situation, like what you remember of the time how old do you reckon you were when you first started to feel guilt or shame or something like that?
Well, I don't remember any of my sort of earlier childhood. So my parents, their marriage was kind of in trouble when I was about 3 or 4,
Right,
and then they
right.
separated. He left the family when I was about 4 or 5.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
So that's interesting because as a 3 or 4 year old, you're not gonna take the blame for it. But as a 5 year old, you're starting to
yeah,
believe that it's your fault.
right.
It's
Yeah.
your fault that he left. It's your fault that they were fighting all the time. It's your fault.
Yeah. And then there was a period when we didn't know. It was that era where you didn't tell the kids, you know what I mean? So
Mm,
they
mm,
he was supposed to be working away, and then eventually we found out he wasn't coming back, and all of that stuff.
mm.
So
Well,
I
I
think
think
that,
it's better for you, but him working away is still you abandoned.
mm, yeah, yeah. So I don't remember any of that time at all. There's nothing
For
there.
good reason.
Yeah.
It'll be
So
pretty painful memories if you did remember, I imagine.
mm, yeah, yeah. So it's a bit of a blank. So it's hard to say.
So when is your earliest memory? 5 or 6?
I mean, I've got like flashes of images, but nothing like random images,
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Some
but
of them could be
nothing.
of photographs too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then probably yeah, my dad took a lot of photographs, so that I also have those. Um, and then I probably start remembering more like when I was 9 or 10, around there. I start remembering more like junior school and friends at school and football and that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Um, but I don't remember my father ever being at home. So that's at least up to 5. I don't really remember the period immediately after that either.
Mm.
Um,
Did you have a time at school where you thought that you were different from the other kids?
I think I felt different. I mean, I grew up, I had 3 sisters and my mum and my grandmother. I lived with sort of a house full of women. So it
Yep.
was always like slightly different, like with guys going to see them and their dads were there, or, they had brothers and stuff like that. That always felt different. Mm. Yeah, I think that sort of male world was a bit of a mystery to me in the in my younger days.
Mm. So presumably that meant that you didn't know, you weren't sure about how to be a boy.
Yeah, I think you could say that. How to be a boy, how to be a man was sort of something I wasn't that confident about, that I could see other kids were confident about.
Mm. Did you find a time happened when you kind of overcompensated for that, when you got real macho?
Um,
Why are you smiling?
well, I don't know. I mean, I got into boxing, but that was much later, which is a pretty macho. I mean, I do have a sort of, in fact, the little short film that I just made it's based around a bunch of older guys who are boxing buddies, and it's quite a macho. It's the little film is actually about the sort of surface banter and macho. It's kind of like it's it's the care that they actually show each other underneath this kind of macho
Yes, yeah, yeah.
exterior. So it's kind of about that in a way. So
Mm.
I'm always in a way still exploring all of that,
Yeah,
you know.
that stuff underneath, yeah. So do you find that it's much closer to the surface for you than what it appears to be for them?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, I mean, in a way, that's sort of what this little story is about. It's about someone who um, articulates something about their emotions in that context and is kind of shut down, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I
Mm.
don't really know what's going on in people's heads, obviously, but
Yeah, yeah, but I get where you're coming from. I like that. That's good stuff. Yeah. And of course that's a generational thing too, isn't it? You know, there's the older
oh yeah,
generation was more that way than the younger generation. You know, Jack
yeah,
won't even know what we're talking about probably. He's so young. He's so
mm,
young. I need a song about that. Yeah. Yeah, and yet you know they care. You know that they're big-hearted, caring people, but they just cannot show it. They just can't admit it. Yeah,
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
yeah. My dad was dead before I knew he loved me. Crazy stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
And did you work with that in any way apart from, or did you just was it just about going into the body and allowing the body to sort of,
Oh no,
you
no,
know,
that was
feel?
definitely an interactive thing. Although I was interacting with a fantasy, but
Mm,
definitely, like he didn't die as an old man. He was only 72. I forget now when he died. But he died of a lung disease thing. But so he was still he didn't get to the age where he softened up and
right. Yeah.
exposed kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But he was like I looking back at him, he was like a child,
Mm,
a big, gruff, masculine way. He was a little child. Yeah,
totally. I mean, that's a real big insight I had one on a meditation retreat years ago. Was
yeah,
just seeing this kind of wounded child that my dad was and how he couldn't kind of deal with the family and a lot
yep,
of this sort of blame because I felt like I had this whole story that I had to sort of confront him and make him account for his, you know
yeah,
what I mean? That whole thing.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's what being a man was about.
Mm.
Um, and there's still times when I question whether or not I should express certain things to him, but I just don't think it's would be fruitful.
No, no, you're probably right. It probably wouldn't be. Yeah, he hasn't got the skills, and it takes him too close to his own dark side, if you like. You can imagine how his father was. I don't
Totally.
know what your relationship with your grandfather was, but you can imagine that his father would have been pretty hard on him as a kid.
Very hard on him, yeah.
Mm.
Wartime and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, my father has this thing. He's very affectionate, very, you know, sweet and charming, and he's very sociable. But if you go close to something painful,
yeah,
rage, you get
yeah.
the wall will just go snap like that, and you're not going near that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And I can feel, although I'm a softer version of it, I do the same thing. I can feel it.
Yeah, well, guess who trained you?
Yeah, right.
He,
Yeah.
he was your mentor, and yeah, even if he wasn't there, he was still your
Mm.
memory of him and so on. Yeah, I can see incredible therapeutic value for you in these movies that you're doing, or this movie and any future movies that might come up like that. Yeah, good value because of the exploration into things. And short movies are great. We have this thing called Tropfest in Australia, and they have all these short movies, like 2 or 3 minute long movies, and it's amazing. I think the one that they had something like 2,600 entries for it. The number of people that are doing them, and some of them are just absolutely brilliant. They really grab things in a nutshell. Yeah. Yeah. So can you get that? There's nothing to do. I mean, the whole idea of doing things is artificial. It's an illusion that you can do, But intentions arise and goals turn up and so on. But recognizing that that's just part of what turns up, it's just a current happening, is where most of the value is for you. There's nothing to fix, there's nothing to undo, there's nothing to change. That stuff will happen by itself. And it will happen. It can't not happen, albeit how much we don't know, how much it will change, but it is constantly changing. So the whole idea of that you've got to fix things, you've got to do something to fix things, that's a furphy. That doesn't get you anywhere. In fact, it takes you down the wrong road, if anything. It takes you
Yeah.
down the idea that there is somebody there who can do something about it. It's another fantasy world that you get lost in when you think like that. But if you recognise that change will happen, and it's not that it will happen because of anything, or if there is a because, it's because it can't not. It's the nature of life. It's always changing. So really, it's a case of just getting more sensitive to watching what is actually going on. And then that's a bit of a trap too, because watching often means that we describe and label things. And as soon as we do that, we limit them and we create something that's different to what is actually going on. So there's this amazing state, not a state, where you observe without defining what's actually going on. You're just observing, and you're not even observing. You're part of the observation yourself.
Mm.
It's a kind of a weird place to be, but it's a wonderful place to be. You know nothing. You're not looking for anything. You're not, you know that you want something to be different, but you know that you're not trying to do it. You're just watching it and seeing if it happens. Kind of weird place, weird state, impossible to really describe. As much as I really ache to describe that place, it's a tricky one. So I wrote. I'm in the middle of doing a song at the moment because it's my number 100 song. I decided it should be a celebration. So when where I've got to is we're celebrating the little shifts, the tiny, tiny little shifts that make up something bigger as they accumulate, so to speak. But what we're doing is being just super sensitive to the changes that happen and really appreciating the fact that changes are happening. It's a kind of a, yeah, I'm still working on it. Yeah. So when we talk about getting into your sensations, it sounds like a doing, and it sounds like a specific thing, and it sounds like it's a direct, maybe intense kind of thing to do. But along with that is the fact that it will either happen or not happen. And so if we recognize that it's not something for you to do, you don't need to write it down and make it an intention as such, just that this conversation might be one of the conditions that sparks a happening of that. So just the mere fact that we've talked about getting into sensations at a level beyond labeling, beyond description, opens up a possibility for that. That's all. So you as a filmmaker, I'm imagining, will appreciate the infinite complexity of shading. So you take any color you like, and it's not that color. That's just a simplification of what that color is. That color on one side in the shade is totally different to the same color on the other side in the light.
Mm.
And so there's a thousand variations that go between those things. And this is the kind of level that we're looking at with the details and the subtlety, the complexity of whatever it is we're talking about or talking about doing. So when we talk about those sensations, getting into them, that you get to where you appreciate that shading is not definable. You're frowning like I'm talking gobbledygook, am I?
No, no, not at all. I get that. It's a funny one. I suppose I was doing some step work this morning because I'm redoing steps uh, in a different program in Al-Anon, which is like which more focuses on kind of trying to fix if you're trying to fix people, you know what I mean, and your relationships basically, rather than any substance or whatever. But it's talking about will in step six. They talk about willingness, you know, and this text I'm reading is talking about, you know, actively being willing, and it's got this sort of sense of like making decision to be different, you know.
Mm.
And I guess that's obviously my mind gets a little bit when it sort of thinks about like deciding to meditate or deciding not to go on social media or to,
Mm. Mm.
and there's this idea that there's no doer, so it's just happening. Um,
Yeah, but that doesn't preclude that an intention to do something turns up,
mm,
and that there's a distinct feeling of acquiescence or invitation or whatever you want to, however you want to call it, that goes along with that, that says yes, yes, or no, no, I don't want to, or somewhere in between those two. That feeling is a very real experience. It's just that when we look at that happening, we realize that it's way more complex than what we first thought. It wasn't a simple case of deciding yes or no.
yeah.
Right? All of the conditions involved make it much more complex.
Mm,
And those conditions, so it's like a couple of references have happened in my stories to um, research, psychological research that shows that the brain will make a decision based on everything it's learned, so all of your history, plus the physical conditions that are present that you take in through all of your different senses. And it's a really complex thing that it does because it adds context to the whole thing, and then it makes a decision, and then some 600 milliseconds later it'll inform you of the decision
mm,
that it happens. So you don't actually know what your brain makes that decision way before it tells you what the decision is.
yeah.
That's a really interesting thing. So you have an intention, and you before you know about it, you're either yes or no, or somewhere in you're moving in a particular direction. Uh,
Mm,
So I certainly I find it's a big thing here: willingness, acceptance, surrender. Not things that we can do, but things if they happen, enable other things to happen. They're part of the conditions for. But then there are conditions behind them as well, and conditions behind their conditions. And it never stops. You go forever and ever. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's a simplistic level that we talk about, and it's a reasonable for certain things to do that, where we talk about, yeah, let's make a decision. Let's be willing to do this kind of thing. That works at that level. But as soon as you look at it, you realize that there's a whole lot underneath that as well. Yeah. I mean, you don't decide to be open and vulnerable unless you believe you can be, unless you believe it's safe enough to be that way. So they're conditions that you don't even realize, but your brain takes them into account. If it thinks it's not safe, there's no way it's going to let you do it.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with all of that stuff. It's fine. It's just that it lives at a surface level
Yeah.
for description, not the effect of it. The effect of it can go way deeper than that. But yeah. Mm. So we're going to go up and down from surface to deep to surface to deep, because as soon as we talk about it, we're only at the surface level,
Mhm.
even though we're pointing to something way down deeper. Mm. Anyway, I feel like I'm spending too much time up on a soapbox here, so I'll give
That's
it a
okay.
rest for a moment. Yeah. How's things been for you, Jack?
They've been okay. Or first, how you doing? Um,
Good.
Dom, I don't know if you saw my question, but I just thought it was interesting, at least for me, is like when you're choosing to meditate or not, or maybe struggling against it, or what parts of it feel like they're totally in your control, or alternatively, like in what ways does it feel maybe out of your control? Um, what's your relationship to having that control or lack of there? Like, are you fighting against it and feeling shame, for example? That's maybe one that I struggle with sometimes. So I don't know if that resonates with you. That's just something I picked up and thought it was kind of
Mm.
interesting.
It is interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, yeah, because it highlights everything that we've talked about in a way. So if you feel that you should have control about what you do, and then you can't follow through on that, then that creates that feeling of shame. So let's break it down a little bit. Start again, and let's look at the details of each aspect of what you were saying. So put it into a nutshell, and let's see where we go from there. So what you're saying, what you feel about meditating. You feel it should be a certain way, and you're not able to do it, or sometimes you're not able to do it.
That's the question for Jack, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was, I was, maybe I was directing my comment towards you, Dom, but let's
Oh,
see.
okay. Yeah.
Uh, I'm happy to try. Um, I think there's a feeling of like uh, my intention should matter, or my intention will line up with what actually happens, um, or even maybe my intellectual understanding will line up with my deeper truth, or maybe a hope that it will, when it often doesn't. Um, like meditation, I can mostly get it, do it or not do it. It's not really that important to me. But like for some of my other habits, like there's this feeling that I should be able to stop. Can often force myself to stop, but it's so hard. Um, I do the thing so often, kind of have given up on quitting at this point. Um, Not really sure if the no control thing is helping me at all.
Hmm.
Because remember, I still don't really have any evidence that I have no true control in like an existential way. Um,
So what about the other way around? Do you have evidence that you do have control?
all I can say is that there's maybe patterns of intention followed by action. And the intent, I often maybe identify as the intender. No, that's a weak link. But yeah, like it often feels like I have to make a decision, kind of like what Dom was saying. Uh, and it almost, the decision always feels wrong, like loaded in some way to be wrong. Like even if I do the right thing, I'm plagued. If I do the wrong thing, it's even, I don't know, sometimes it feels good, but not that good.
Yeah, so that complicates it when you start talking about the right and wrong thing. So if I say I'm going to point my finger up in the air, and then I do it, is that evidence that I've got control?
No, maybe in some cases I wonder why at least for me, maybe why it's helpful to think in that way. In other cases, it's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Hmm. Would you say that in all cases, if you believe you've got control, that the value of that is that you feel better about yourself?
If I believe I have control, there's value in feeling better about myself. Or the value of that belief is feeling better.
Hmm.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So is there another purpose to having control, to believing that you have control, besides that you will feel better about yourself if you believe you have control? Is there any other purpose you can think of? I mean, the obvious one would be that you can get things done, but things get done anyway, don't they?
They do. So,
So maybe it's not about being in control. Maybe it's about being not in control.
in what way?
Or,
Or what do you mean?
yeah.
What
So,
do you mean?
so what's the opposite of being in control? Is it being out of control or being not in control? There is a subtle difference, isn't there?
Being in control. Yeah, being in control to me is like a state that if you could lose, like theoretically being out of control.
Right.
Or yeah, because if you're at least the way we talk about it in English.
Mm. Yeah. So if I'm out of control, am I going to do things that cause me or others problems, damage,
Probably.
whatever?
Like I'll maybe share. Like at one point I faced what was at that time and maybe still is like my greatest fear. And as soon as I like finally let it pass through, it was like colors got brighter and it was kind of nice for an hour or two. But it was very much the fear that like I was gonna do something horribly against my own
Yep.
intentions.
Yeah. Yeah. So could you believe that somebody who commits suicide or somebody that cuts himself or does harmful things to themselves or harmful things to others, would you believe would you imagine that they could only do that if they're out of control?
No,
I mean, I imagine it would take a distinct impression of being in control to shoot yourself.
I'm not sure. I don't see how that relates. Like when
Mm.
I think of killing yourself, it's because like life is just so horrible that you've got nothing left.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know if that's what you're saying.
yeah. But so you, in a conventional way, you would have to say life is so horrible that the way out of this pain is for me to shoot myself, so I will shoot myself. That sounds like in control to me.
Yeah, okay. Or taking things into your own hands.
Yeah, yeah. So what if we consider the possibility that there's neither control nor out of control? That really what we're looking at is a state where control is not an issue.
But there's no control.
There's no control and there's no out of control.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
is there is that's the same as saying there's no Santa Claus or no pink elephants or unicorns,
But then
right?
how could you have a state where it's even a relevant concept to this? Does that make sense? I'm kind of intellectualizing right now, but
Yeah, that's okay.
if you have a state where it's not an issue, you're still orienting around you still have some idea of control.
Yes, exactly. An idea of control. I have an idea of control. And I'm happy for my wife to believe that I have control of the car when I'm driving.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of saying what's really going on is that driving is happening. I mean, I wouldn't say that to her because she'll think I'm crazy, right? So so the reality is, right, that I'm happy for that illusion to have a place. But I recognize that if I veer over to the side of the road because of my attention wavers, that just happens. It wasn't that I was out of control any more than I'm out of control or in control when I'm driving straight. It is just what's happening.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest, like this seems so abstract to me. Like I don't
Yeah,
get it. I don't get why it'll help me.
right. Okay. So maybe it's not relevant for you at this stage. Right. So that's it. I'm getting the feeling that it is, that yeah, you're right. It's abstract. It's not relevant because it doesn't connect with you in any way.
No. Here's something I did want to bring up. Uh,
Yes. Yeah. Go.
and maybe the closest I've had to what I would describe as a feeling of out of control, like being out of control, not just not having control or is you keep, I'm gonna say you,
Yeah.
uh, over past meetings, you keep pushing me to this space that's quite uncomfortable. I don't really know anything about the feeling that it's there, but every single time you're like, okay, now you should go be alone, or you should get angry at me, or uh, you should sit with that feeling. Like we poked the bear, now go like calm down, or
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, what and it's kind of the strangest feeling. Like I can't define it. It's kind of warps things a little bit. Um,
All right. So let's talk about that for a moment. Yeah. So I have to tell you, I don't have a plan to do a particular thing with you. So that you end up in a place or get into a place where you have that feeling is entirely an internal thing that happens in you as a result of the conditions that are around you, and I'm one of those conditions, or what I say is one of those conditions, and so on. Now, that it feels weird and presumably uncomfortable.
yeah, or so it's the feeling of when it starts, it's often like my defenses are failing
Yes,
or my
exactly. All right, that's
coping mechanisms, but
yeah,
then whatever's happening, and then I'll snap out of it, and I'm like, where did I just go? Like I don't know what just happened. Uh,
yes, yeah,
like I was responding, or maybe, but it's like the world just kind of is like flowing by, and I have no idea what the hell just happened.
yeah. What the fuck just happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that what I imagine happens is that you get very close to the monster under the bed, as a metaphor. You get very close to something that is uncomfortable that you are avoiding, and that there's no value in pushing you right into that. What there's value in you getting close to the edge of it and allowing things to kind of move around into a let's say a more acceptable presentation. Right? But each time you get close to it, it will realign. It'll change, and you'll be less afraid of it. And at some point, you will actually go into it, and it'll dissipate as a result of that. That's a story on my part.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
You you have expressed stuff like that over and over again. So, like, do you know what it is?
No, I
Is
have
there
no
any
idea.
value? No.
I have
Because I'll be honest, it's like I could not put a single name to it. I can't
Yeah,
even really describe it that well. The word out of control came up maybe for the first time, but that could just be me trying to
yeah,
understand it based on what we've talked about.
yep, sure, yep, yep, yep. And being in control, the feeling like you're in control means that your defenses are working quite well. And the opposite might be that allows you to get close enough to feel the fear of it. And so that feels like out of control because your defenses are down or not working so well. See, I have stories about, they're very vague stories about what possibly is going on, but it's of zero value for you for me to express those stories. Right? The value is in you discovering what is actually going on for you. So can you see that? Can you see that the evidence that there is something going on for you is that you have these, let's label them because I don't know any other way to present it, but you have these obsessive characteristics, these symptoms of OCD, right? Or let's even not even go that far. Let's say that you have this experience that you call suffering,
Yeah.
right? That's evidence that there's something going on underneath. And what we need to do is expose that something at a rate, at a level that you can cope with. We don't want you to end up in an insane asylum because as an attempt to avoid them. So we don't need to push it to the point where you break down. What we need to do is just go to the edge and then let things settle. Go to the edge and let things settle. And each time you'll get more familiar with what it feels like and it will be less threatening for you and you'll eventually dive in and it'll turn out to be nothing. But that's a story too. I don't know that either.
Yeah. Okay.
What I do know is that what's there is a belief. It doesn't have to be anything actual, but it's a belief about that you've got about Jack, and that adds up to identification.
I don't know. It feels like something like sensory, very weird and strange, and or at least the state that comes up. That's not a state. I don't know.
Well, here's something I know, and I guess I if I'm pushed, I'd have to say it's a belief I have, but I know I feel that belief is so strong that I can say I know that you're okay. There's nothing wrong with you.
That's been I've been okay. I mean, I guess I can accept that. It was
But I also believe that you don't believe that.
y-
You can accept
yeah.
it at an intellectual level, maybe, but at some level, you believe that you're not okay.
Well, here's where today I was griping, complaining because it seems like there's two different things that happen. Is one, all the stuff I really want, is getting like I told you about my scary fear that turned out to be one of the best experiences once I felt the thing.
Yep.
And then on the flip side, it's like a lot of my good intentions are not actually good intentions. They're just like a reflex or coping or like, so it's like, how the fuck did I end up in this reality where everything is totally backwards?
Mm.
And I don't mean like, how did I get here, but like, why is it like that? And
Yeah, yeah, I get that.
and really, it's more like I'm just angry about it, not actually why, but
Yeah, that's that that is perfectly reasonable to me. And when I say reasonable, I mean, I have no trouble accepting that that's the way it is for you. But you can see that when you say that, that you're saying it's all arse up. It's all wrong. It shouldn't be this way.
yeah.
And you don't probably get that I do that that's one of the reasons why it is arse up. It's circular, It's arse up because you think it's arse up. And it's very legitimate. It's legitimate that you see it that way.
Yeah, I guess I just don't get how it, and I'm fighting this, but I don't get how it is that way. Like that
Yeah, yeah,
wanting something can push it further away, or
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. I get that. Yeah,
the thing
it's
looking at
counterintuitive,
something,
isn't it? Yeah,
well, it just seems stupid and illogical and
yep. It is all of that. Absolutely.
also,
Yeah.
okay, here's the biggest thing is it makes it impossible to be a human and make decisions in that environment. Like I
Mm.
really struggle to do things like, do I pick up the trash, that piece of trash on the ground outside, or
Yeah,
do I
yeah.
meditate right now? Do I go to these meetings?
Mm.
When I don't know if it's like my real truth or a reflex or coping or, and at some point you just make a decision. Like I ended
Yeah,
up here.
yeah. I get that. I get that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm
So I do this thing, and it's just what's evolved here. But I do this thing where I see a bit of trash, and I see a bit of trash. And if the thought occurs to me to pick it up, I'll pick it up. And it's not. I don't pick it up because the thought's occurred to me and it tells me to pick it up. I pick it up because when the thought occurred to me, it kind of gives me direction. But sometimes I don't pick it up, and that's when the thought to pick it up didn't occur to me. It's over there, or it's not relevant, or who knows why. I don't.
I have lots of thoughts and some of them are
Yeah,
contradictory or
yeah,
against my values or
yep,
indecision. Lots of indecision.
yeah. But you see, I don't know if you're hearing what I'm saying because it's probably a bit hard to articulate. But that is that I don't make a decision to pick up the trash or not. Right? If the thought turns up to pick it up, that's life telling me to pick it up, and so I pick it up. But life presents itself to me via a thought in that case.
Yeah, but what
So
if
yeah,
life presented you with a thought to pick it up and then immediately after another thought to do the opposite with hard to deal with feelings the whole while?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, now you got me. I can't imagine how that can happen.
The way I maybe see you're out is that you don't see yourself as a person taking orders from a thought.
Yes, exactly. Shows me a direction. That's all. Yeah, it's not an order.
Yeah. Or you're saying like gives you direction, but really it's just the way
Yeah,
I'm interpreting what you're saying
yeah,
is
you're
a
right.
thought and then a picking up.
Yeah. Look, on the walk back with my dog today, it occurred to me to get my phone out and do a video of my feet walking on a particular part of the path where there was a whole lot of roots from trees exposed in the ground. And the thought occurred to me that I don't I don't narrate about where to put my feet. Yet there are thoughts that kind of follow the action that the body takes about where to place my feet. So I don't want to kick one of those roots and hurt my toes because I'm only wearing thongs and or flip flops, I think you guys call them. And there are some roots that are nice and wide that I might stand on top of, and other roots that are kind of sharp and narrow that I don't. So I step over them or I put my foot down before them, right? And the thing is that I am watching my feet work out where to place themselves, and I could easily imagine that I'm thinking about where to place my feet and that thoughts lead my feet. But when I look closely at what's going on, the thoughts follow. The thoughts come afterwards. The thoughts are not leading my foot placement. My foot placement and my thoughts are kind of happening together at the same time.
Can we change gears a little bit? The I'm getting signs of the feeling coming up again.
Right.
And what's weird is it's not a feeling I'm separate from. Like I couldn't tell you. It's just a feeling of like, yeah, my some of my defenses are failing.
Yes,
And
yes. I get it. Yep. Okay. So,
it's not that bad.
oh, yeah, no, that's fine. Good. I'm glad it's not that bad. So we can talk about it. Right. Now, I want to ask you why, but I don't want you to consider it from like that question of why. I don't want you to get into an intellectual uh, uh, description of what might be behind it as such, but I want you to recognize that something is going on in what I was talking about that took you to the level of your defenses and where your defenses felt like they weren't working for some reason. I was I was articulating some kind of truth that you know, but is very uncomfortable for you to accept.
I think tell me if it sounds like I'm telling a stories. Uh, the sense I just got was that you were communicating what felt like a true understanding of your experience when I only merely grasp at that all the time. And equally that it wasn't necessarily my experience, so I felt kind of confused.
Yeah, that sounds like a defensive thing again, that one. But
That's right.
the first one sounded fine. Yeah. Um, I'm imagining that we're playing around on the edge of you accepting that you don't have control, but that your understanding of what control is or not having control is not clear enough for you to go there yet.
No.
So you're still seeing not having control as out of control.
Yeah.
But
If
that's
you had
just
to
my fantasy,
drop
of
the word
course.
control, I'm maybe prickly around the word control because my chatbot uses it in a different way. So if you just had to completely drop that word, how would you talk about
Yeah,
this?
yeah, okay.
Or
Yeah,
not?
yeah, yeah. I get it. It is a prickly one, isn't it? Um, so what about that things we can describe that things just happen, and that's a shitty description because it doesn't give credit to all of the conditions involved in that happening. So they don't just happen; they happen because of all of the conditions that are around that are there, and that evaluation is much more than a simple control. It's much more than a simple happening.
So I'm thinking about how when you talk about this, I just kind of zone out, or at least
Yeah,
it goes.
yeah. That was pretty wishy-washy what I just said. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not saying that.
I am.
Uh,
Mm.
okay.
I don't know how to do it better, but anyway,
Yeah.
yeah. So what's the point of that? What's the point of going down that road at all? The thing is, if you feel, I don't know how to get around that word. If if you feel that you're able to master what's going on, you put yourself in line for either success or failure.
Yeah.
And because of the reality that nobody's a master, everybody's an apprentice. The consequence is that you're certainly going to fail, but you don't need to feel bad about failing because it's artificial, just as success is artificial. There can be joy if it happens, and disappointment if it doesn't, but that's objective. That's not a personal thing. You're not. It's not you that's failing or succeeding. So that's the difference. And the problem is that you're you've got to succeed. That's a big deal for you to succeed. And if you don't
The word
succeed,
that comes up is doing it right or wrong, which I know it sounds like a small difference, but for me, like the idea of wrongness has like it's like
yes,
etched into me.
yeah, 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 yeah. So failure is wrong.
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
sure.
because there's a morality in it.
Yeah. Wrong has such a, at least for me, has such a like broader scope to it. It's like you can be morally wrong, you could do it the wrong way, maybe just those two, but
Yeah, yeah. No, I get that. Yeah,
it can feel wrong or like not quite right.
that's a different one for me. That has teeth. That one, it can feel wrong, but an absolute right or wrong doesn't exist for me.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that there are not consequences, but right or wrong is a judgment that is socially conditioned. However, I do believe that it's a personal thing for you, very big deal personal thing.
Yeah. I'm getting some of that
Yes.
out of controlledness, or like it feels like you're like programming me in some way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I am. I'm trying very hard to program you, but in a healthy way, not a. So I'm trying very hard to deprogram your unhealthy programming, and that's what we've got. You've got unhealthy programming.
Yeah. Here, give me a second. I gotta put
Yeah, yeah.
in
So
headphones for a bit. Okay. Can you hear me?
yep.
Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
What did
So
you
that
say?
that right or wrong there. So here's a way in. I think this is a big one. Where did you learn that? Where did you learn about right and wrong?
Mom and dad, but I'm not sure which one feels more.
So
I'm gonna say maybe dad.
let's say Jack, you're wrong. Whose voice would that be in?
I don't know if I've ever heard that.
Mm. Yeah. So
I
what words? What? How would it be presented to you if it was? What words would be used?
right now for some reason it's coming across very morally wrong, like moral right and wrong, and it seems like a dad thing maybe.
Mm.
Does that maybe mom? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I get stuck
Either
in
or
these
both.
like
Yeah.
I get stuck in these like I'm not really sure which one's my real truth to express moments. Like I'm
Yeah.
scanning internally, like which one feels more accurate, and I
Yeah.
don't really know.
Yeah. So what if you're not allowed to make that judgment
Of wrong,
of right or wrong?
or what I was just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. That's comes from the outside of you, and you have to obey that.
Oh, I don't know.
You're not. You're not. You're not old enough, or you haven't got enough experience, or something to be able to make that decision yet. You've still got to go by what you've been told.
Not good enough.
Yeah. Not. Oh, there you go. That's a good one. Not
Yeah.
good enough. Yeah.
I only say that because it's one of those things where I've never really felt imposter syndrome or not good enough, but it always like resonates when it's in like therapeutic settings.
Mm.
So maybe it's that I'm avoiding it.
Well, we can appreciate that to anything we can express about it is simplistic. It's much more nuanced and much more detailed and complex than anything we can express about it.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. What is? I feel like a mannequin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That doesn't bother you at all? Like that's
Yeah,
just like
what I was just thinking. What I was just thinking is that there's an old Buddha saying about when you meet him on the road, you got to kill the Buddha.
yeah,
Have you heard that one?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, in your case, you got to kill mum and dad,
Mm.
metaphorically, of course.
Does that have anything to do with?
Yeah.
Uh,
So what does that mean? What it comes back to is being your own authority. Now you're too confused to be your own authority, so you
yeah.
can't
On
be
the
at
other
this
hand, I've been
stage.
kind of coming into that a little bit, that
Yeah.
role. Like, I bring it up because I was going to bring it up on my list. Who knows? But is that I've got this sense of like singularityness recently that like I'm the only one that can experience this through my lens. I have no idea anything that's true about it or not. Then I just I have to learn it and play with it and enjoy it, or like it's a
Yeah, whatever with it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Mm, that's true. That's true. Now, here's the thing. I just said that's true. That's different to saying that there is a truth. Just as there's no good and bad, there's no right or wrong, there's also no truth.
And yet,
Right? There things are true in the sense that they can be accurate, but there's no ultimate objective truth.
yeah, yeah. I guess I often want there to be.
Yeah, of course, that's the nature of the mind. It wants certainty, doesn't it? It wants
Yeah,
to know.
yeah.
And where we're going, and I only say it to scare you, where we're going, we don't know anything.
Yeah. I don't know. That doesn't bother me so much.
Good.
Maybe in certain things like love, it's the worst, but as a general, it's kind of one of those things where like when I'm really uncertain, I just like take a step and I end up here.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty brave, isn't it?
I don't know about that. I think it's the opposite of bravery.
Yeah. Or reckless.
Yeah, or just avoidant, or the way I saw it was avoidant. Um,
Oh, I saw the opposite almost. I'm imagining that you're stepping towards it. Yeah.
I was, I meant when I'm faced with indecision, I just say screw it and move in any way, whatever. Usually it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, I don't know, do the next thing.
Yeah.
It feels like you might not see it that way. Or maybe maybe I'm hoping you do.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't experience that kind of indecision or uncertainty. It just.
So I'm thinking out loud. I'm just curious at why in that moment 10 seconds ago I decided to grasp for that sense of certainty from you. Because it did happen. Um, I don't know if you felt it, but
What you said propelled me in the opposite direction. Not. Well, yeah. The idea that you presented of uncertain took me to a place where neither certainty nor uncertainty exists. And what I expressed to you is that I don't experience that uncertainty, but neither do I experience a certainty.
Yeah. So is it a structural problem of opposites that I'm grappling with?
It kind of seems like that, doesn't it? It seems like, yeah, wherever you, whatever you, and this is partly a language thing too, whatever you come up with, if it's not the case, then you immediately go to the opposite as being the case. And it's not true. It's not the way it is. And
I've
so
been
for
accused of black and
those
white
things,
thinking before. Or
sorry,
I've been accused of what we might call black or white thinking before.
that's
Um,
pretty normal though. That's the way most
yeah.
people work. Yeah.
I get
And
the
that's why
sense
it's,
that non-duality is kind of a version of that. Uh,
yeah, non-duality is definitely, yeah, non-duality is duality flat out, you know.
yeah.
Yeah. But that's in my imagination, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but see, the language doesn't give us these words that say neither certainty nor uncertainty, neither right nor wrong, neither, you know, there's no words for it.
Yeah.
So when I say it's not an issue, when I say right and wrong is not an issue, none of those things are an issue. There's no words to express that. If I go not, you know, it doesn't tell you anything, does it?
Yeah. Sorry, I zoned out a little bit.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. The way I see it, the mind wants certainty. The mind wants to know why. The mind wants to know what's going on all the time. And because we've trained all of our life to chase that, we either have success or failure in it. You know, it's a big thing. So to get to a point where the mind is the same as any other sensation, it's just something that we react to. You know, I don't know where the step after this one is going to be placed, and neither does it worry me. So I'm quite relaxed and quite happy about whatever turns up. Yeah, it's all wishy-washy when I start talking like that.
No, I
Yeah.
just wonder, like, do you believe in a God or something? Like, I know you've said before, like, I am God, God is me, everything is God. But I'm just like, it's foreign to me.
I don't believe in a higher power in the form of a god, but I
Yeah.
believe there's a shitload of stuff going on that we don't know about yet. That's for sure. And maybe we never will, or maybe we will one
So
day.
why
Who
is it
knows?
helpful for me to not know? Maybe maybe I don't need to know that, but
Well, because it takes away the idea that you can be a success or a failure.
oh,
And it's kind of easy to live with being a success, but it's not so easy to live with being a failure. If you got one, you got the other. So if we can remove both of them, that's a big plus.
so how does knowing tie in with those opposites, duals?
How does knowing tie in with it?
Yeah. You just said, or I asked, why do I not need to know? And you just said, because it's hard to live with being a failure.
Yeah.
I don't get how those are different concepts to me, knowing and being a failure or success.
Oh, I see. I see what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's not a case of not knowing, right? So knowing and the opposite of not knowing, once again, both of those are irrelevant. There's a case where I don't need to know, which is also the same as saying, well, it's not the same as saying I'm happy to not know, because I don't need to not know. I don't need to know and I don't need to not know. And that sounds really weird when I say I don't need to not know. Yeah.
Uh,
I don't know, but I also don't need to know. I don't feel there's anything missing by not knowing, because the kind of not, yeah, so it's not really about knowing, isn't it? The not knowing that I have is pretty full. It's like, I run out of words. I don't know how to
yeah,
say it. Yeah,
I'm feeling that words are like with control, they're not landing so well.
yeah, yeah. They're too defined. They're too narrow in what they mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it's a complex issue. If we start talking about knowing, well, geez, back when I was a seeker, I started a blog, and one of the things I got into was about knowing. Do I know? What do I know? Do I know anything? Um, and in the end, after pages and pages and pages of writing, I came to the conclusion that all I have is beliefs. I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know that I don't know anything. Neither knowing nor knowing are a real thing, right? But I do have beliefs. That's all I've got. That's as close as I can get to knowing anything, is a
Yeah.
belief. So the idea of knowing, wanting to know, it's an impossibility. I can't know. But that's not the same as not knowing. Not knowing means that there's something that I need to know or something that I want to know. And in this case, the not knowing doesn't reflect any of that. So it's really not knowing, it's not needing to know or wanting to know. They're slightly different, but they're the same. They're the same, but they both apply. I neither want to know nor I need to know. But I can say, and again, it's only words, I can say that I know everything I need to know to operate in society or whatever. I know all of that. That's okay.
Maybe one last question, and we'll just to tackle it from a different route. What am I expressing that tells you that knowing or not knowing is the issue? Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get
instead
the
of what
question.
is the
Yeah.
fix, what are you perceiving?
Well, I'm perceiving that right and wrong,
Okay.
same thing.
So maybe just
So you can say
so maybe
wrong
that's the
about.
lens.
Sorry.
Maybe that's the lens, and I feel like I'm taking up too much time right now. But maybe that's the lens to deal with, and not knowing or not knowing.
Mm. Yeah, could well be. So it's worth you playing with that. If if which one makes you right or wrong, right? And remembering that you probably are weighted in the direction of being wrong.
Which one makes me wrong?
Yes, knowing or not knowing.
Oh,
Or let's don't even answer it. Don't even think about it so much. What makes you wrong would be a great question that you're not looking for an answer for. Just allowing it to mull around in there. What makes you wrong? That's probably a really big one for you, I imagine.
Okay.
And you were wrong about. I love this. You were wrong about taking up too much time. Right? I don't see anybody else wanting to get in here, so you got all the time you need. But I do get that you almost had enough.
Okay.
And this is perverse shit, isn't it? Why do I enjoy it so much? I do enjoy it. You
Don't,
know, you make me think. You make me get into places that I don't normally get to. I love it. It's great.
it doesn't bother me that you might enjoy it at all or any of the parts of it. I mean, yeah, perverse in a weird, in a human way. Very human.
Yeah. Uh, what I probably enjoy is it's simplistic to say, but there's a level of accuracy in it. I was going to say truth there for a minute. There's a level of accuracy in it. There's a connection, and that's what I think I enjoy that very much so.
Yeah, I feel that. One last question for you.
Yep.
I don't even know if I want to ask it. I had it written down. Do you know any good koans?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Or could you make one? I don't know. I feel like you're pretty
I can,
creative.
I can, I can make one. Yeah.
Just because I feel like for whatever reason, koans have the ability to like
Yes.
drag on me.
Yeah. 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 So the one that I use frequently that does come up that I really, really love, and I think it's quite relevant for you because it's about that word that shall not be named.
Okay.
Uh, is how do you do not doing?
Okay. And that's it? That's the whole koan?
That's not a Cohen?
Huh?
Is that not a Cohen?
No, I'm not saying it's not. That's the whole thing.
Yes, that's a Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I was doing it.
I don't want an answer, but I'll ask you whether you've contemplated that next time I see you.
I will. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. As always, thank you. I appreciate you a lot.
You're welcome. Yeah, me, you too. That's genuine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, Leonard's gone, so I'll uh, I'll wind up now as well.
Thank you as always. Have a good day
Okay.
or night.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Vince. See you
You're
again.
very welcome, Don. Thank you. Yeah.